Yet another racially charged incident has rocked a school in Johannesburg. There's been a heated exchange between a black teacher and a colored parent at Fred Norman Secondary School in Ennerdale. It's understood the two were arguing over a pupil's behavior in class, among other concerns. The teacher involved has since been suspended, and the Human Rights Commission, the SA Human Rights Commission, has tried to mediate to find a solution. So let's make sense of the story now. Bring in Andre Gaum, who's a commissioner with the South African Human Rights Commission, as a start. Great to have you on the program as always, Andre. Thanks for making time. I want to just make sure that everyone is on board around what happened. So what do you understand to have led to that exchange?
Yes, well, all of that, obviously, the Commission will have to investigate. There were derogatory remarks made, apparently by an African teacher to a colored parent. But as to exactly what was said and how it transpired, that is part of what the Commission will investigate. The Commission has indicated already that we're doing an own accord investigation into the matter, and that investigation will have to take its course. But what is quite concerning to us is that in 2019, the Commission brought out a report with clear findings and directives pertaining to the Klipspruit West Secondary School.
Yeah.
And some of these were that the Gauteng provincial government needs to do an assessment of policies and practices that are not in line with the Constitution, and that there should also be social cohesion programs run in conjunction and cooperating with civil society organizations. So very little of this has taken place, and therefore it is very important that we have clear social cohesion drives, as the Commission has recommended and directed at the time, to look into these issues. We have also been on record that we are working with the Department of Basic Education to develop diversity and sensitivity programs for all schools in our country, because we think it is very important and a necessity that we look into issues pertaining to diversity, also even diversity education as part of the curriculum, so that people can be in a position, learners, to really, understand why people are different in various ways, and how to appreciate that and not to look down on differences.
And just for the record, by the way, we make reference to the identities of the people involved because this is at the heart of the contestation, their racial identities to be more specific. Sandy White is actually the chairperson of the Alumni Association at this particular school and joins us via our telephone line this morning. Sandy, it's great to have your perspective as we try and make sense of what happened and what the way forward looks like. Part of what's being reported is that the teacher involved here, who happens to be a black teacher, said the following: I don't like coloreds. I'll never wake up liking coloreds like you. You guys are rude. You don't have manners. As a woman, you come and scream at me here. I mean, as an institution, surely, something ought to be said about not only an adult saying something like that in front of teachers, but an individual who's a professional that should be trained to deal with heated situations like these.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. With regard to, not only that was said, but there was a lot of sheer disrespect, vulgarity, and the tone and the manner in which it was said in front of children. No one should speak to any person like that. So the teacher, without any doubt, was wrong. Even if you can look at it from different ways and different angles, it was just unacceptable behavior. That said and done, we need to do much more in terms of, because I don't want to focus so much on this particular incident in terms of what has happened, because it's unacceptable. I'd want to focus on how do we move forward as a society and a community. And obviously the school is burdened with the incident in terms of learners not learning, the principal having to assume more responsibility of putting things together and stabilizing the school, the matriculants are busy with exams and things like that. So there's a lot of responsibility, and this unfortunate event has added more burdens and responsibility to our healing plight and resolve in the country. So I'm of the firm view that unless we deal with these issues proactively, There are a lot of embedded issues, a lot of undertones, and a lot of things that have been unsaid in terms of our history, our social interaction, and how do we heal and mend preconceived views, a lot of prejudices and biases. So unless that is done, these things will continuously reoccur in our communities and things like that. So we have to be solution-based, we have to be proactive, and this day and age, this generation of children and learners do not deserve what we have failed to do as parents and educators and as leaders. So we have to fix it, and we have to be very proactive and very deliberate about how we fix it, because it is negative, it is regressive, it is not advancing any development whatsoever.
Yeah.
And also as a teacher, teachers have a responsibility to care and advance the interests of all children, to empower them. For any teacher to call a child a trash and other things would be meaning, and we have to find ways how we can amend these things in a much more proactive way.
Sure.
So I'm of the firm view that we have to have programs deliberately designed in terms of fostering racial unity, cohesion, and we also have to focus on the economics. Because once you have a situation whereby poverty reigns and jobs become scarce, then people tend to focus on issues that instigate and ignite racial undertones, because we don't know how to deal with our own frustrations as a society. So the economics are very, very important from an empowerment point of view. So even that issue needs to also be the focal point. Why is our economy failing? Why aren't we doing enough? What is the black middle class doing? Because many of us have taken flight, we've left the school, and we're not adding any value, or neither are we contributing the way we should be doing. And those are fundamental issues that also need some ventilation.
I hear you. Let me come in there, Sandy. I understand we're speaking in broad strokes, and I'm sympathetic to that, because issues around racism sometimes feel very elusive until they actually unfold. But outside of placing this in the greater context of perhaps even the country's history, what would you say are some of the issues that are specific to this particular institution, and how should we go about dealing with those issues?
Fred Norman had challenges in the past, in terms like most schools, and it's like a family. Every family has its problems. You'll have the odd uncle that is goes out of the wimp or anything else. But we have to try and manage the situation. And there are levels of what is acceptable and what is demeaning and what is totally unacceptable. Right? And this, in this particular instance, and it's understandable, as any family, any school, any community, these differences will occur. But there are levels, and this is an extreme level. It's totally unacceptable. So given that history, the school has been on a mending approach. There's a new principal with the Villiers, and she's been absolutely committed in terms of turning the school around and embarking on new projects and things like that.
Can you tell us some of the things that have been introduced to try, prevent something like this from unfolding?
This is an example, for instance. They have looked at taking the children and the teachers to some psychological support, introducing new ways of introspection, seeing how even us as the school alumni, we have committed ourselves that we are going to inject new activities. We are going to reactivate our commitment and our contributions to the school, also from a fundraising point of view and also from a number of different aspects. So we intend doing that, and we intend contributing more to that. And unfortunately, we have made commitments in the past, but because the principal fluidity was not ideal. So now that we have a new principal and it's committed, we are working with her and the school, and we will continuously do that with a view of supporting the school, because and as a rule, generally, there is no superior race, no race is above everybody else. We are all the same, and we have to coexist and work together, black and white, colored and black, irrespective. We got to build this country in the right way. Right. And there's no time for negative racism or tribalism. not be condoned in its rawest form.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. I think your point is well made. Andre, let me bring you back into the discussion. We've been here before, haven't we? Even just in Gauteng, more specifically in Johannesburg. You made reference to that investigation that the Human Rights Commission that you're a part of did into, I think it's Klipspruit West Secondary School. At that school, parents were protesting against the appointment of a black principal there. Your investigation found that that was nothing but a racially motivated protest, to put it lightly. The question then becomes, why are we here again? You know, why is it that seemingly we're unable to get down to the bottom of stopping incidents like this from happening? Is it really just about conscientization?
Well, I think that it is obviously very disappointing that we are here again, as you say. The reality is there is still racial prejudices and racism in our country, and it is something that we need to work on actively as a society. And therefore, the Commission will also, from our side, launch in a month or two what we call SHINE, the Social Harmony national effort, which will really be a national effort in which everyone will be involved, and we would love every South African to get involved in this SHINE effort, Social Harmony national effort. But this also illustrates once again why we really need a diversity and sensitivity program in every school in our country. And we need to include in this not only learners and teachers, but also, parents as well, the entire school community of every school. And that is what we are advocating. We're also working with the Department of Basic Education to develop a model school code of conduct, which is human rights compliant. So I think these are the kinds of steps that we are taking together with government and other role players to really try and make a difference, so that we will, and it is our national project, is something that is not completed in one day, unfortunately. But hopefully all of this would eventually help, that we will get to a point in our country where people will really live up to the constitutional promise of unity in diversity.
Sure. And
that we are united. There are differences, but that we are united in their diversity and appreciate the diversity that we have in our country, which is actually an asset.
Yeah, absolutely. As we kind of worm our way through this challenge, which is, arguably still very prevalent in our society, one hopes at the very least that the adults in the room will be able to have enough self-control not to be engaged in this kind of exchange that is now making the rounds on social media in full view of pupils. But for now, thanks for your take on what to make sense of how to make sense of what's happened. Andre Gaum is a commissioner with the South African Human Rights Commission. Also joining us via our telephone line there is Sandy White, who is the chairperson of the Alumni Association at this particular school, Fred Norman Secondary School. To both of you, thanks very much indeed.